Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the fourth episode of New Paradigm Love, where I am very excited to be speaking with two very beautiful people and a very beautiful couple who inspire me deeply, Kalindi Jordan and Pete Warnock. So, welcome.
No,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Yeah, thanks for
Yeah.
inviting us on this
Yeah.
podcast. So good.
So I'm just going to do a little intro. Again, like the guests last time, I know you both, but also there can be so much, even if you know somebody a little bit, that you don't know at all. So,
Mm.
as a bit of a formal introduction, and you can add to this yourselves. Um, Pete and Kalindi have been a couple for 18 years, if my research is correct,
Yeah.
Yes.
living and breathing conscious tantric relationship and teaching that particularly for couples as well. Kalindi focuses on teaching sexual and sensual mastery for women and also for couples. And Pete is known for his naturally ecstatic breath work technique approach, which is like a synthesis of all the many trainings you've done, Pete, in body work and energy healing and sensual energy awakening. Would that
Yeah.
is that
Definitely
right?
awakening. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Beautifully said.
Thank you. Mm.
Yeah. So that I'm just so raring to go in terms of questioning you to the hilt here.
Great. Let's get in.
And
Yeah,
it's like,
absolutely.
where do we begin? And I suppose one thing that is like, this is personal curiosity, but I'm sure everyone's going to want to know this. It's like you've been together for 18 years, walking this path. I'm curious to know who you both were before the moment of meeting. Like, what was Pete doing? What was Kalindi doing? Like, were you already in this trajectory of, sexual awakening, sensual mastery, like embodied awakening? Was that already your life or something else?
Mm.
Sure, that's a great question,
Go for it.
actually.
Yeah, really good question.
Definitely, I was definitely in a journey of we met, what was I? Would have been 32, and so I would say that in my 20s, I was living in a community. I was doing a lot of meditation. I was exploring the relationship to life through the lens of devotion and using the movement of sexual energy as a vehicle to relate to life and the divine and the world around me through the medium of devotion. And I was doing a lot of meditation in my 20s. And in a way, that was my life. That was my world, was um, everything that I was experiencing as a person. How can I relate that back to source? How can I live in a world? And this is kind of what how I see the world now, is like, how can I walk through life as if it's making love with itself? What is that? How can I stay in that? So I was very much, and I would, you know, I would say that on some levels there was a lot of similarity, wasn't it? And I know you'll share your side, but I think, but as I was coming up to meet Pete, I'd had a lot of experiential, like meditation, experiential thing, and I hadn't been on any workshops, but I hadn't done workshops. I was not in the workshop world.
Yeah, yours was all experiential,
I
non-conceptual, wasn't it?
Yeah, I had no concept. I hadn't really read books. I'd lived in this community, and then I'd done my practices, and I was having experiences. And so I'd sort of come from this very life just lit me up kind of.
And you had a full Kundalini awakening, which lasted for years, didn't it? You
Yeah.
dropped out and you expanded into the universe.
I mean, that's maybe a whole other podcast another
Oh,
time.
wow. Yeah.
I mean, Kalindi can talk about Kundalini from a place that I mean, Kundalini is talked about a lot in the New Age world, and most people are talking utter nonsense, if I'm honest. They talk about this fluffy kind of, oh, wow, energy, and that is not Kundalini. That's Shakti that moves. So, and Kalindi works
He
a lot
always
with.
shares this about me, and I never share this about myself, and he always shares this. So
It's really important.
I
It
know.
is really important. You're the real deal, you know. So, yeah.
Do you want to share what's going on with
Well,
you?
I came to this path from the opposite point from Kalindi. Kalindi's a bliss bunny, always has been, always sat in nature and talked to animals and kind of and just been in wonder. And I've lived with chronic pain from since an early age, and so I came to Tantra in my early 20s through a nervous breakdown. Um,
Wow.
and came off antidepressants and medication for being depressed through discovering breathwork and meditation. And actually, through using some of the breathwork techniques that I discovered when I was 5 or 6 years old, when I had injuries. So, which I was spontaneously kind of discovered and then kind of used a little bit and then forgot about. So, so I started reading a lot about Tantra and doing practice in my bedroom and all sorts of things like that, and then practice with partners but it was more a personal practice for me. And then when I met Kalindi, it was just like all of this stuff came together, and it was just wow, it was utterly magnificent, and we had such cosmic experiences. My God,
It was
really.
like we kind of got the chance to blend
Mm,
like a lot of the things that we were experiencing with ourselves,
mm,
within our own experience. We were then in meeting each other, we were like, oh my God, someone to play with,
Mm,
like someone to play and be as crazy and as weird as we felt. And none of it had any shame or,
mm,
we could just be, um, yeah, as playful and out there as we wanted to be. Yeah,
mm.
yeah.
And I'd got all of the names of the things that Kalindi was experiencing. I'd got the kind of names and the knowledge of them, and Kalindi was actually having the experiences, you know. And so,
And I'd be like, Pete was like, what's going on now? And I'd be like, this is doing this and this is doing that. And he's like, oh, that sounds like that chakra. I said, oh, what? Tell me what that
what's
is.
a chakra?
So yeah, it was,
yeah,
yeah.
you got a new language with me, didn't you?
I did. I got, and I started reading books and learning a bit more.
Wow. It sounds like you're both so advanced. Like in my 20s, I was like doing the corporate career, you know. So like is there like Pete, you referred to the pain as a catalyst for you.
Mm.
And Kalindi, was there anything like before that kind of put you on this path, or is it just this has always been
I
your
think,
expression?
I think it's a good question. I mean, I think as a teenager, I was wild, wild party animal. I had a great time. And hello to all my friends listening, who remember me. But in it, I was always fascinated about sexuality, always fascinated about relationship. I was somebody that but loads of people would tell me their secrets. They would talk to me about relationships. I mean, I was only like 13. I don't know the answers, 14, but I was interested. I cared. I was asked the right questions. And so I think, like there was always this fascination in that. And then um, I must have been about 17 and I was sort of having my wild party raving days, which I love, which my love of dancing grew from there.
Mm.
And I was gifted a kind of a vision. And within that vision, when I woke up the next day, I basically stopped everything that I was doing, smoking, drinking, etc., etc., and I didn't touch it. It just stopped. I had no come down. I had been smoking and drinking and taking things for years, playing, and the next day I just went, oh, I'm done. And I didn't take anything anymore. Stopped smoking, everything. And started, it was like life just went, that's enough of that now. Now we want you to do something else. And then in a few years' time, I ended up being in India and meditating and going along the path of meditation.
Mm.
So in a way, I felt like I was continuing something I'd maybe started in a time before.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Something like that, anyway.
Get that sense too. Yeah. Um, there's two things that kind of spring to mind from what you've both shared. And one is I love that you've both mentioned meditation, because I think when people talk about or think about sex, sexuality, sacred sexuality, if they've not already immersed themselves in the world of tantra and all of this, meditation is not the word that people are going to associate with sexuality
Mm.
or like embodied bliss. You know, I think a lot of
Mm.
people will imagine something that's sort of quite sterile and
Yeah.
sitting still and straight backed and serious, you know.
Mm, mm.
And
Yeah.
actually, interestingly enough, a friend of mine's just come back from a Vipassana retreat, and she was referring to the deep bliss and Kundalini shimmerings that were like moving through her through the 10-day meditation practice of Vipassana. So yeah, I was going to go somewhere else, but would you both like to just share a bit about the connection for you between meditation and sacred sexuality or intimacy?
Mm.
I think yeah, agreeing with you, like on meditation, I think again it can bring that kind of sterile, let's sit very still and meditate on a point of light, which is also has its amazing place. But I've definitely, for me, I think I use the word meditation in that form, but also in the form of a sense of centered awareness.
Mm.
So for me, dancing is a meditation.
Mm.
Right.
For me, making love is a meditation. It's the state that of being that I sit within it.
Mm.
So where is my center? Am I in the center of the making love experience? Am I in the center of my dance? Am I in the center of the conversation I'm having? So for me, I guess from those times when I would sit and do mantra meditation and meditation, I've learned that actually it becomes something we do within everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's how I would use that. And so if we think about it, for me at least, in the relationship to like sexual play, the more that I'm in my center and the more that meaning the center of this experience, which means the center of my body. And if I'm in that, I can feel everything, every part of my body at the same time. When my beloved Pete touches me, I can feel the ripples of that touch running through the whole of my body because I'm in the center feeling it.
Yeah.
It's therefore the sexual experience becomes animated, amplified. But also for me, the center is I'm also connected to the source of life on some level, varying levels. And we can learn how to use the activation of sexual pleasure to fall into a more, I guess we could call it like cosmic space
Mm.
within that activation. So I don't know if that answers the question, but that's what came out.
Great. Yeah, it
Yeah,
did. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
feeling it.
Good.
It's because Kalindi, I mean, what we both do actually is we speak from what is alive inside of us. You know, we don't speak from a this place generally.
Mm.
So, um, although I'm going to now, actually, just to
Great.
meditation originally with tantra was the more energetic practices originally were not taught to for people for years, for decades, until they had a really deep grasp of meditation, until they had a really deep grasp of their emotional body. Because when the sexual energy in Kundalini moves,
and the mental body,
and the mental body, because when that moves, it can pop into the emotions, it can pop into the mind, and then it creates chaos. So they would do all of these practices, first of all, where they were so deeply solid in this place that Kalindi is speaking about, in deep presence. So that then when that energy moves, it doesn't throw you around, it doesn't make you mad, it doesn't. So a lot of people doing a lot of sort of being thrown into tantric practices now, when they haven't done a lot of the inner work, can bring up all sorts of stuff and pop people into all sorts of places. So and for me, meditation is not about clearing my mind. I know a lot of people kind of talk about meditation as clearing the mind. For me, it is dropping into a curiosity field,
I've not heard that
and
before.
really just dropping into a sense of awareness, sensation, and just being curious with what is alive, and just meeting whatever is alive with a sense of yes, with a sense of taking it in and just allowing it to have me.
And I think that's, Pete, I think that's your way of being somebody that's in pain all the time. What I've witnessed in Pete, how he has managed that journey, has been to keep coming back to curiosity rather than fighting the pain and being resistance to the pain. And through that has built a whole other depth of experience through. It's like the pain has also drawn Pete into the depth of the center. It's like we all can access it through different ways, I guess.
And for me, my pain journey is a tantric journey. It is. I bring my awareness to it, and if I were to listen to my mind says my whole back hurts. When I bring curiosity to that, I notice that, okay, there is pain in certain places, but there's also tingling, heat, all sorts of different things, lots of which are really quite beautiful, And if I relate to them, and really let myself drop into them, then the actual physical pain is not so overbearing. But if I focus on my whole back hurts, I can drop into a place of real overwhelm with it, So that's been one of my deepest teachers. So.
Yeah, I'm really hearing that. Gosh, what a strong teacher. Wow.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of going to go off on a tangent, but there's a bit that I want to get in, which is when you started talking about the cosmic experiences that you had when you met. So I am curious to know, when you first met, I mean, you might not remember, but I reckon you do. Was there an instant recognition between the two of you? How did you come together?
Such a good one, isn't it?
Well, I chatted Kalindi up in the sea in India. I'd been in India for a while, and went to go to pick up my son, and I was staying in a place where there were hundreds of Russians, and they were setting off firecrackers all night. It was a crazy place, and came down to a different beach and heard Kalindi talking to her son in the sea, and I was just like, oh my God, someone who speaks English, and someone with an English accent, and we just got talking, and actually I knew Kalindi's ex-husband's current partner, and there were so many connections that happened. Yeah, they were on the beach, and so and we actually had our first date at a full moon party, Prem Joshua concert, which was just beautiful. But we had one time when Kalindi would sit on the back of my moped, and I'd drive her around in Goa. And there was always this incredibly, I mean, for me, it was an incredibly erotic kind of something. I was turned on all of the time and trying to hide that I'd got a hard on, and try and hide. I was really quite embarrassed and all that kind of stuff. But we just kept finding ourselves in really cosmic little places. And then one day we went for dinner, and we were eating dinner, and then suddenly everything dropped away, and we just looked at each other, and we were just like, "Oh my God, it's you!"
We said it at the
And we
same
both
time.
said it at the same time, and it was like the yeah, it was it's beautiful.
It was
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
It was really, and that was a sort of moment where nothing sexual had actually happened before
Mm.
that moment, and we were just sort of hanging out.
Mm.
And so,
But it was like life. It was like this lifetime dropped away, and we landed in a different free place, wasn't it? It was
yeah,
just
we're like, oh, it's you. And then my body at least went, and I was like, oh, wow. And so, in reflection to your question, not really at first,
no,
in
not
the
at first.
sense like there was a drawn like, and to say, you know, initially like Pete in that time didn't look like who I would traditionally go for from the look, and so it was just like, oh, this is interesting. I'm feeling this pull, this guy, this is really nice. I'm really enjoying it. I was in a place in myself where I wasn't really looking for anybody, and
Right.
I was adventuring, and I was also doing an inner practice of, I wanted to meet someone, but I was doing an inner practice of, okay, well, there is a man out there in the world. I only need one. And he's out there somewhere. I'm going to start meeting him before I actually physically meet him. So I've
Oh.
been doing this practice with myself every day, taking some moments to meet this lover who
Mm,
exists somewhere in the world. And
mm.
I just started building my relationship with him before I met him. So, on some level, I was actually having a great time because I've already felt connected. I already felt like I was with someone. And I was just trusted that at some point I would meet this person, physically meet this person.
Right.
And so, part of me, I think, when I met Pete, we were having such a nice time. I'd sort of hadn't clocked that it could be Pete,
Mm,
and because I was so sort of content on some level. And
Mm.
then it was like this moment kind of nudged us. It nudged me at least to go, oh, it's you. It was like I sort of caught up with each other, and I was like, I needed life to nudge me and go, oh, it's here. And so there was something, and then, like Pete said, it was like we were able to be as out there as it was unusual for me, I think, to find someone that I could be so grounded, but also kind of out there, and things that we talked
Mm.
about and things that we'd experienced. We've both been body workers. So I've been doing body work from the age of 17, and I think you were maybe like 20 or something.
22,
So,
yeah.
like so we just gotten really nerdy about bodies and body work. And I mean, it's so great having a lover that's great with body work.
Mm.
So, I mean, we had lots of fun with body work and
mm,
deep tissue work. And like we just,
mm,
yeah. So there was a lot that moved from that as well.
Mm.
mm,
Yeah.
mm. Pete, do you want to add anything to that?
Um, as you're speaking, I'm remembering a kind of an experience that we had, which was kind of
I never know what he's going to say because he sometimes overshares. So I'm just going to mildly brace.
so we were making love one day,
Not
and
that one.
and we were in this four-poster bed in Kerala, and we were making love, and then suddenly again the room dropped away completely, and we were in a snake pit, and we were in a pit that was full of huge snakes, and they were riding over us and around us and everything. And we both stood up on the bed and screamed.
We jumped up
But
on the
you
bed.
both had that.
We
You
both had it at the
both
same
had
time, and then it just disappeared again, and we were just like,
We were, and just the name, we were not on any
yeah,
psychedelics.
we didn't take any
didn't
drugs.
take
Yeah, no, no,
anything.
no.
Like we were on nothing. We were
Yeah.
just on pure like our own energy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty wild.
Mm. I mean, I was so happy to have met someone who was into energy like I was, and who was really fascinated with energy, and we'd play with energy, and we'd play with breath, and we'd just play with all of the things that we love with each other, which was beautiful.
Mm.
Yeah.
And were you looking, Pete? Did you have any similar practice as like Kalindi said, she was doing this inner practice of meeting her beloved before meeting him? Did you have
No,
anything like that? Were you looking for anyone? Were you just
no,
no?
not at all.
You did have a list though, because you showed me your list.
Oh, I suppose I had a list. Yeah, I'd made, I guess, what would now be called an avatar. I'd got a list of the who's, the how's, the whys, of the qualities of the person that I'm looking for. But I didn't. Yeah, but it wasn't something that I particularly focused on very often. So yeah.
And did you have other, like, I'm also curious, did you have, like, you had the list, Pete, Kalindi, you were having this inner practice. Were you having lovers, or was like that inner practice like the devoted point, like the point of devotion?
I had been traveling in Australia and I'd been a bit before and I'd met a few different people that I'd had little flutters with. So I was definitely open to like meeting, like having interactions with people. Um, yeah, but there wasn't anybody else that was sort of in like I was journeying with at that time.
No. And I had not been that long out of a long-term relationship, um, and I was interested in connecting with people, but I didn't think I was going to meet anyone in India. It wasn't that I wasn't looking for that in India particularly. So, I mean, I'd been working in Chennai for a few months, and yeah, it was the last thing on my mind really. So, yeah.
Okay. And
Although I
so,
did chat her up, so.
was he any good?
Yeah, and definitely because it worked, and I'm, I have to, again, I coach women around dating and stuff, but I also have to own that I often don't notice if a man's chatting me
You
up.
know what? Kalindi is rubbish at notice that I mean, loads of people chat Kalindi up and she hasn't got a clue that that's happening. They're just being nice. It's just like,
friendly.
yeah, right, okay.
I have to admit that is a bit of a trait with me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's okay. So then, like, so you've had these cosmic experiences, and there's a coming together. There's a recognition that you described. That's a very powerful one. Like the veil's, gone, and it's just like recognition. Um, and it sounds like you were already pretty extraordinary and out of the mainstream anyway, in terms of the way your lives were. So then, how did it go? Like next after that, in terms of becoming a couple and becoming a conscious couple, a tantric couple, like how did it just flow organically, or were there things that had to be negotiated?
Kalindi kidnapped me. She took advantage of me when I was really ill. And so I ended up staying in India for a lot longer than I should have done because I got quite ill out there, and couldn't fly back. And then when I could fly back, I came back to Stroud where I was living, and Kalindi came to nurse me, and nursed me in a way that I've never been nursed before, strangely. So
Mostly in bed.
in bed, yeah. I had lots of bed, but not rest, I would say, which I don't think was particularly good for me at the time, but still, I survived anyway. And then I went to stay. I came across from Stroud to see Kalindi, to come and see what this land is like, and yeah, just to have a date, didn't I? And I haven't left. That was it. I stayed one night, and I stayed there. You know, that was crazy. Yeah,
But so
yeah,
there was a definite element to flow.
yeah.
And um, from a grounded point of view, we also Pete had a son who was 4 at that time,
Yeah, yeah,
and my son was 13,
yeah.
and I so as we started to spend more time together, of course, Pete was in co-parenting with the mother of his son, and I was co-parenting with the mother of my son.
Mother of your
No,
son?
my mother. We
Wow,
met the
right.
father of my son. Probably would have liked that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would definitely. Yeah.
And and of course they're different ages, and so
But they got on really well in India, didn't they?
they
when
got
they
on
met?
really
Yeah.
well, and and so on lots of levels, it's that grounding of family life as well, and our love of our children and their different needs. And obviously, my son was at secondary school, and all the navigations that were needed in co-parenting, all the beautiful things. We were both still really well connected to our ex-partners, and also through that there's also been challenges with our ex-partners, and they'd probably say the same about us.
Yeah, yeah. But we had a window. We had a window where we didn't work. We lived off credit cards.
We did do that.
And we had probably 2 years of doing very little other than laughing and hanging out with friends, And I came here and started building things. I built a 30-foot lean-to on the side of the house. I built a 15-foot cabin in the garden. I built a hot tub kind of place and stuff. So we had a lot of focus on creating a home together here, which was absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
But then we hit a wall where we've got to work now, and I ended up having to go bankrupt actually because
so we kind of hit that, there was a level of like, wow, we're having such a great time, and maybe lost a little bit of that grounded rootedness, and then we had to ground and root. And actually I think our first argument was over the fonts on our new website.
Yeah, our first ever
that was website. Our first ever argument.
Living Synergy.
What, you argue?
We definitely argue.
Yeah, oh my God.
Okay,
Yeah.
people want to hear about this because we've got this magical cosmic tantric bliss, la la, and it's and as you're speaking now, you come across as incredibly grounded and as well, and the two shouldn't be contradictory, right? I mean that's but yeah, I think it's really good then for us to hear about the nitty-gritty of life and children and parenting and abundance and income and work and arguments. And
definitely.
How does that work in a conscious tantric relationship?
Definitely. I mean, that's why I think, when I look at our relationship, there's so much beauty, and the mirror, like, for example, our core wounds are reflected within this relationship.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's what I notice with couples that I work with often. And often if they're conscious of it, there's a core wound that they're working on. There's an entanglement. And so we're not free from that. Like, this has been hard. We've had to dig deep in the sense of what we mirror to each other, and the tugs and the pull of pain in the heart, how has also been there. So within this journey, it's like, yes, we argue, and yes, we feel pain, and we've hurt each other, hugely hurt each other, and misunderstood each other, and probably even shamed each other at times, and been totally dysregulated. And one of the key things that we over the years have got better at is conscious communication.
Mm.
Taking ownership of the parts of ourselves that are being activated. And one of the things we started doing was, I think maybe a couple of years in, we did a year-long training together in rebirthing. And I would say that one of the beautiful things that has really held our relationship has been going on certain trainings together, because we actually learn the same language. And so we learned on that training a lot about part work, inner parts, like a bit like inner family systems. I don't know if people have heard of that, but it's the concept that we're made up of different psychological parts that all interact inside ourselves. So, and then if they're all kicking off inside of me, there's a whole load of them kicking off inside of Pete. And so we learn a common language of how to name what it is that's coming up inside us. It's not the whole of us, but this part of me feels this. And so we started on this very much how to navigate the challenge is through these kind of processes of communication, for sure.
And we also learned a practice around, and I think partly because of the meditation that we'd done, a practice around de-storying the sensations. So feelings, we all have feelings. When you ask someone what they're feeling, they'll tell you a story. They won't tell you the sensations that are alive in them. They'll tell you a whole who, how, why, and what. And so, and we have learned to often go beyond the story into the sensation, and nobody can take the sensation personally, you know. So we learn practices to come back to sensation, to come back to presence, and come back to regulation in ourselves. So we're not constantly in this battle of throwing energy to back and forth with each other. I mean, we do sometimes, you know, but most of the time we're really good with that. You know, so we found ways that really work for us, you know, which is great, you know. Yeah. And that was very, very new for me in relationship. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you give an example of that? I don't know if it's easy to pull one, because I think something like that is a really key skill. You're making me, like, for example, you know, you're making me angry, or you're making me sad, or you've hurt my feelings, or I'm feeling blamed, or, you know, like that's kind of a common thing that people might say, you're ignoring me and it really hurts. That's kind of what might be said in a couple, right?
Yeah.
Conventional conversation. So
Absolutely.
how would you reframe that?
I mean, the first thing is that we had to reset that language and not say you're making me feel. It's like firstly it's I am feeling. It's like no one can make us feel anything. We can feel something in response. And I think that's very powerful, simple but powerful, because otherwise we always can feel like a victim to someone else's behavior, right? And I know you know this, but there's that sense of like, and so there's always this I am feeling. It's part of the non-violent communication skills that I think are really important for couples.
I mean, we have an agreement that if we are getting into an argument, and if we feel if either of us are getting dysregulated, one of us will say, I am noticing. And we've agreed that when someone says, I am noticing, we put down what we're saying and we do a practice called I am noticing, which is, I am noticing I've got a buzzing in my chest, I've got a tingling in my gut, I've got a this, that, and the other, and blah, blah, blah. And I describe all of the sensations in my body rather than I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling scared, it is pure sensational, you know, going directly to sensation.
And what we're doing is learning to co-regulate.
Well, self-regulate and then to co-regulate. Yeah.
And then because what we have to say to each other is important. But if there's charge that that activates the nervous system, we're not ever really going to hear each other. If we become into an adrenalized state in relationship, it's not, whatever we say isn't really going to land. We're not really listening. So we recognize and have recognized that if once we regulate, we actually have better conversations about the things. It does not to say that what we need to share with our partner isn't important. It's just how we share it and where one shares it from.
And once we've kind of de-escalated it, and we've come back to sensation, and we've taken the story out of it, and then we have ways to speak about what's happened in a way that is really safe, So yeah, that is non-judgmental, kind of pointing a finger and
the thing is, with relationships, there's going to be so many things that one's never going to agree on.
No, absolutely.
We're allowed to be different and have different opinions, and we're not ever going to be able to fix all those parts, but what we can is feel them. We can sit together and feel the discordantness of an agreement where we disagree, or we don't believe the same thing, or we want two different things and we don't know how to match that. We've got many of those where we're very different, and there's pieces of our puzzle which we just sit with and go, well.
And in many ways, we've grown more differently. There are some aspects that have grown together, and some aspects that have gone completely off at tangents. So.
And it's just that willingness to keep feeling it together without there being an answer to everything.
I love hearing that. That's a really important sharing piece, Kalindi. Because I think, again, there can be this expectation or projection onto romantic, loving relationship that it should all be harmonious, it should all be perfect, we should slot together perfectly in every way, we should have the same interests, the same desires, same values, right? So I love that you've offered that as part of it is actually sitting with the unresolvedness of difference.
And really, what I find is if we really support and really love the other person for being interested in other things, if I love Kalindi and I love her being happy, and if her being happy makes her go and do that, then that's just fantastic. What doesn't work is if she's not following her passion, because then I'm going to get the brunt of that at some point,
Right. And that's actually, yes. Okay. So there you've brought in new paradigm love in a way, because it's like, there's a way that there's people use the word love to describe certain things that I would say are not necessarily love or loving. So like love being you're mine, love being I control you, love being, you have to make me happy. Those kinds of things, as opposed to what you've just articulated, which is, I love you. Please do what you're called to do. Please express yourself pretty. Please follow your dreams. That's, I want to see you expand because I love you. You're not mine to, this is me interpreting what you've just said. You can correct me, but it's different.
That's brilliant. That's beautiful. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And that kind of love, I think, takes this kind of level of, there needs to be a primary love in there first.
Go on, say more about that.
Because there's something about when we thinking about it as a new paradigm love, that we never really owned anyone, right? That's never been a truth, but humanity has acted like we can own each other, right? So it's never a truth, but it's been an acting. But as we're moving out and shedding those old sort of residues of that belief structure that are often unconscious, what I feel we need to fill it with is this space of, if a partner or people around us want to do certain things that and we don't want to follow, there has to be a recognition of like, what is it that I want to experience in my life? what is my primary relationship with myself and my life, and how do I want to experience that, so that we can all move in the ways that we want to, but we're still listening to this inner. Is there a point where this is still relational? Are all the choices and the ways that we want to move in the world relational? But we can only get that answer if we're really in a primary relationship with ourselves. And that's at least my experience and our experience and what I've noticed. So having worked with couples for the last sort of 15 years, just noticing more and more and working with couples in that the more that they've come into that self-recognition, the easier it is to let things move more freely in relationship. I don't know if that makes sense. But
it means letting go of a huge heap of control, which is scary and which brings up all of our parts. It does. So we have to be really committed.
That's what I mean by primary self. We have to then do that inner work of looking after the parts of us that are scared, that are unsafe, that are reaching out to our partner or someone around us to keep us safe. We have to go, actually, I'm safe even if they do that, or even if we're little things like we're going to do different things this weekend. I'm still safe. We're still safe. It's like, that's the primary attending. That I think this new paradigm that I'm witnessing, it's like we can still deeply be in relationship, but the first one is up with everything inside us first.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. And I do feel like it's still probably quite not the norm.
I agree.
It is.
I think it's quite, I think there's a radicalness to that. And I think an unknownness to what that might look like. And I think couples are I think there's a pioneering feeling in relationships at the moment. There's a lot of couples trying new ways of being, and I'm not just talking about open or poly I'm just talking about just different ways. As we've seen, like women can earn the same as men, so they're not stuck at home with babies, but they can choose. So it's like we are trying out new ways collectively of being in relationship. And I think that takes a lot of courage and a lot of attending and a lot of mindfulness, actually. And
it takes a lot of mistakes, doesn't it? I mean, we've made so many mistakes. And we've mostly learned from them, haven't we? We've had some really clunky phases, and we've had some, and there's always been lots of beauty sort of woven in between.
Being able to repair ruptures,
it's huge.
It's such a gift in relationship. If you can learn how to repair ruptures well, then we can kind of meet whatever comes.
And this is a phrase I've seen a lot of relationship coaches, guides refer to in the last year, because I'm always reading, studying this whole thing myself, and this phrase of repairing is like really kind of a buzzword now. Can you say something like really concrete about that, like either give an example from your own relationship or an anonymous case study, or what that actually involves?
I mean, for me, it always comes down to taking the personal out of what we've experienced. So if Kalindi and I have a rupture, if we argue about anything, an example. God, what do we argue about? Well, let's say our first argument, which was about websites and fonts and things like that. We're in an argument. We're getting lost in the story of it. There's huge feelings involved, and we're getting so caught up in the feelings. But when we choose to use this technique that we said, when someone says, "I am noticing," that, and we de-story that whole thing, this whole kind of thing collapses, and we come back into intimacy and curiosity with the self. And it's a self practice, and
Mm.
it's then a sharing, um, and it's just such a different way of relating with each other, and within that, I mean, often, no matter what you're discussing, no matter what you're arguing about, the chances are it's got nothing to do. The energy that's coming up in that moment, the chances are it's got nothing to do with what's happening now. It's probably years gone, maybe even kind of passed on from different generations even. We're all working out so much energy. We're in so many emotional loops and triggers that have been passed down or that we've learned. And so by coming back into sovereign space and just meeting sensation, which is life, all sensation is life. That's all it is, life. And when we come back into deep relationship with what is alive inside us and meet that and welcome that and rest with that, then that gives life a new opportunity to move in a different way. So. Somewhere.
It's fascinatingly watching him there.
I could see you watching, and I was sitting here feeling eyes closed, like meeting life. Yeah.
I mean, just to add to repair, I think a big part of it is you have to find the willingness to want to reach each other again.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yes.
So no matter what the break of connection is, however severe that is, because of course some people, the small ones like fighting, like we said, over a font or like infidelity or something like that, the repair always starts with this tiny thin thread, which is both finding the willingness inside yourself first, not the willingness in your partner. You have to sit and go, where is my willingness to reach across a tiny thread to my beloved? And can they reach theirs to me? And that's where we start the tapestry of weaving repair. But it won't do it if you haven't got that thread inside yourself.
Yeah, you've got to connect.
You can't wait for it from your partner. You have to have it there inside yourself first, because that's how you build bridges from both, at least in this way, from both sides. So you can only but start with your own side of it.
And often people want the other person to do the first step.
For sure. Yeah.
And it will never work.
And especially if they are the one that has seemingly done something wrong. We can sit and give that power away to that. We're waiting for that person to offer the whatever it is so that we can then open. It's like, no, both of you have to sit with that willingness. Yeah.
I mean, we used to sit with a guy, an awakened guy, Ian Wolstenholme, who's not here nowadays. He's passed on, and we used to sit with him, and he would look at our energy dynamics, and we'd bring a particular thing that we were working through, and as I would be speaking, he'd say, "Stop! What's that?" And Kalindi, "What's that?" You've both got this thing coming up in your energy before it's even spoken, and it's happening in both of you. It's not this happens and then this happens. This happens together, This happens simultaneously in the field, So it's not somebody else's fault. It's a simultaneous happening.
As a dynamic means two parts or multiple parts responding together.
Yeah.
So with our partner, we have dynamics that simultaneously arise. And so we have to attend to our side of what's arising. So in a disagreement or an argument or where we've disconnected, we are still, even if we're the seemingly one to be wronged, we are still part of the dynamic towards healing.
That's a great one. Yeah, because I think there can be so much, and personally, and as well as generally, like, well, I'm right. They hurt me. They've done the wrong thing. I haven't done anything.
Yeah.
And even if there is that, in the sense that somebody's done something, and there is like that was more something they did, it's like there still has to be this willing, am I willing to reach across that divide?
Yeah. Because we can be right and be disconnected.
Because the person can be apologizing and start apologizing, but if we're not willing to reach across the divide to start knitting back together, it will stay divided. Yeah.
Why do people hold on to that? Like, what are the common reasons for not being willing to reach?
I think there's a power thing. I think it is powerful to have these feelings. We feel significant with them. I think it can also come from a real terror of letting go, because I think a lot of people have a real terror of letting go.
I think a lot of it's also safety. Like, I remember a teacher said to me once about, she's saying that when I went into like a language that was slightly shaming of Pete, she said to me, "Where are you feeling unsafe?" And I went inside and I went, wow, actually I feel wobbled and unsafe in this. I feel unsafe somewhere. And it's like, I noticed from there on, I was like, when I start doing something a little derogatory in my language, something inside me is not feeling safe. So what is it? And then when I actually would stop and go, what's actually happening is I feel really vulnerable here because I don't know what you're doing. I don't understand what's happening. I feel like you did that and now I'm concerned you're going to do it again. And I felt really horrible the first time you did it, and I don't want to feel horrible again. So I believe that the reason why we hold those firm grounds is because we're vulnerable underneath. And we don't, culturally, we're not taught how to bring vulnerability, and we're not taught how to receive vulnerability. And so when someone brings their vulnerability, it only takes moments for us not to hold it well or meet it well. That person might not bring it again.
Right.
So it's like learning to find what is the parts that are unsafe and creating a container and a dynamic where you can bring vulnerability, because then you don't have to stand your ground and stand in our stone castle going, you were wrong and I'm right. Because underneath it's like, I don't care who's right or wrong, I just really scared.
Or I'm really lonely.
Or I'm really lonely, or that hurt and I don't know what to do with all this hurt. And I don't want you to do that again because it hurts me. Like that, there's often things like that are going on, in my view.
Yeah, for sure. And as you describe it, it does sound, and well, I also know, but like it's requiring pretty advanced and committed, so pretty advanced levels of self-awareness, to be able to notice, to be able to track somatically, to witness what's arising in the moment that it arises, to catch it as it comes, which we don't always.
Of course, yeah.
But for that, and then a willingness alongside that to be vulnerable, as you've named, and the capacity to articulate as well. Like that's quite a lot, isn't it?
It's a lot, yeah.
And people aren't taught this stuff, I mean, it's fundamental things, that people need to have around communication, and it's not taught, and it's not something that we learn from other people.
I think it's such a thing for those listening. It's like, if you're in a relationship, just celebrating you, because it takes a lot to be in relationship. It takes a lot of listening and attending, and it's hard. And so be really deeply compassionate if there's a lot of hardship going on, because who really taught us how to do relationship well? Like it's a minefield, and how hard is it when I've had couples say to me, why am I hurting the person I love the most?
Mm.
Why can't I get it? I'm just say the wrong thing and then they get you know, like
Mm.
it is really heartbreaking that it is often the person that we live our everyday with that we end up creating hurt with. And so I just want to say bring a lot of compassion because we're not taught how to do this well.
Mm.
Yeah, because I was just imagining people listening, watching back to this and thinking, oh, crikey, I can't do this, or oh, crikey, that's like beyond what I can do right now. Oh, crikey, I've just done this and like I'm a terrible person, you know. Um, and that's not, well, that's certainly not my intention. My intention in having these conversations is to really inspire myself and you and everyone into towards what's possible and to just keep
Mm.
Yeah,
learning and keep growing and to also bring in the humility and the compassion for our humanness because we're
yeah,
you
Mm.
know we're all co-creating, we're all interconnected, like none of us can do this individually.
yeah,
It
Mm.
takes all of us, doesn't it?
And I really believe that this new paradigm of love is around celebrating the soul to express in the most incredible way that they possibly can. So for me to love Kalindi and let her do whatever lights her up
Mm.
will bring me the most joy, because I'm in rapture of witnessing her shining in the way that she can. And when we start bringing in "I love you if" or "if I love you but," that just cuts love out, you know.
Mm.
It does.
But I mean, it makes me think of something. It makes me think that another thing that I'm aware of in relationship is acknowledge the contracts.
Mm,
You know, because relationships are contractual, but often people have a kind of, oh no, they're not, no, they're not, and it's like they are. And what I've noticed is that when you bring them to light, you're aware that, you know, like marriage is a contract, isn't it? It's like you know, um if they decide to be monogamous, there's a contract. You're not going to go and be sexual with anybody else. There's a contract. And there's lots of ones which we can make that are quite, we're aware of, but there are all these unspoken contracts
mm,
of like, if I give you this, if I look after you when you're ill, you're going to look after me when I'm ill. Like
Right.
when I'm low on money, you're going to pay for more things. That means that when you're low on money, but often we're not talking about. And so therefore, when our partner doesn't do something that we expected them to do, we're like, well, hold on, I've given you a cup of tea every morning last week, and now I'm ill. You're not even bringing me a cup of tea. What's going on? Like, you know, it's like sometimes just those things are what going on is that we have an expectation of these. My contracts in myself are different to what Pete's contracts are.
mm, mm.
And I'm not saying maybe use the word contract, but it's
No,
like, what are
it's expectations
the
or kind of, yeah.
expectations that we are putting into the relationship also from each other that aren't being said?
And it's amazing. I mean, we often have couples who say we speak the same language. We know it, we're on the same level with each other, and so we ask them, okay, so when you say this, what do you mean? And when you say this, what do you mean? And they'll share it, and they'll be like, oh my God, I didn't mean that. What, you mean that? And it's just like, yeah, we speak the same words, but it's not the same meaning often.
Yeah.
And so we imprint our own beliefs and our own kind of contracts onto into relationship. So mm,
Yeah, that's a great one. The checking, because yeah, definitely using the same words does not necessarily mean having the same understanding.
no.
Yeah. Um, I would love to talk to you both for about another hour at least, but we've been talking for an hour. So I'm going to sort of wrap up with a kind of concluding question and hope that maybe we can speak again another time.
Yes.
Because this has been so juicy and so rich. Um, concluding question for today. For those people who are going to be watching back, who, everyone watching this is going to be fascinated, drawn to, wanting to be in improving their relationship in some way, whether they're single, whether they're a couple. It's like they're called to this new paradigm love, they're called to conscious and tantric relating. Like, what is the wisdom that you would love them to hear today?
Oh,
For me, it is about cultivating a practice of curiosity.
Mm,
Um, and for me, starting off relationship with myself, coming into deep relationship with myself comes to starting off with my breath and falling in love with my breath and really, really letting my breath become my primary lover. We can breathe into the whole of our body. We can, when we really bring curiosity and wonder into our breath, we're literally in love with the divine, because it's the divine that is breath. And when we can start to cultivate that relationship, and then kind of that expands through our life, and that's always what we need to come back to when we come out of regulation. So,
and I think the thing coming for me is ask better questions.
yeah.
Instead of assuming that you know your partner, instead of assuming what you think you're feeling from them, ask a better question. Be curious. Learn about your partner, learn about yourself, and ask them, like, can you explain more of what that is going on for you? Can you explain yourself? Can you share more? I want to learn what that feeling is. I want to learn what's going on for you. So the power of better questions and curiosity combined, you will learn. It's like you gain a manual of yourself, and you gain a manual of your partner that's ever growing, ever changing, ever evolving. Don't fix your partner and assume that they're fixed. We change, we grow. Stay open and curious to who they are and what their world is.
And always keep learning, keep learning.
Keep learning together.
Yeah, new skills, new all sorts of different things, because we're always changing and growing. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. Now, before I press stop, is there anything that you would like to share in terms of your work? Any offerings, courses, workshops that you've got coming up, or anything you would like to mention to draw people's attention to?
Yeah.
So we run an online tantra program called Amrita Tantra, which is for couples. And that runs over a series of 6 sessions, and you have access to us to ask loads of questions, and we teach you different forms of communication and body work and connection and touch and sexual and tantric practices. And that we do that twice a year, starting in the spring and in the autumn. I also, do you want to say anything about that?
No, I was going to say you also got your sensual mastery for women. Yeah.
And I run usually my sensual mastery for women, which is a week-long immersion for women to drop into that primary love relationship with oneself and how to move sexual energy through your body and make love with yourself. It's absolutely amazing. And there's many other offerings, but if you just follow us on kalindijordan.com
and livinginlove.co.uk.
Yeah.
So, and if you're interested in breath, I mean, all things breath, I love, and so my naturally ecstatic website, has got all sorts of different programs on learning how to expand and use breath in such a different way for so many different things, because it's just the key for so much. So, yeah.
Oh, well, I will put the links below this when I share it as well for everybody, so they can find you very easily. So, guys, thank you
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you for inviting us. It's
Yeah, it's been really fun. Yeah.
So amazing. Just woof. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.